Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Michael Daly back with you guys and girls with the Real 1% podcast. On this episode, we got a special guest, Nate. He went from helicopter accident to six-figure entrepreneur in the real estate space to sum up his story. But we're going to dive in a lot deeper today. We talk all things military, we talk transition, and just think about, leaving active duty and getting only about 2 weeks to, transition out. And actually, Nate actually became a Naval Reserve officer recruiter now. He's on 2-year orders. So without further ado, how you doing today, Nate? Appreciate you joining the show.
I'm doing awesome. Thanks for having me, Michael.
No problem, man. Thanks for being here. So what really got you in tune and in line to join the military in the first place? Was it something you always wanted to do as a child or something that you just fell upon?
Yeah, actually, I joined the military because I wanted to be a pilot originally. And when I was talking with a lot of my friends and looking into the different programs, I could actually get a pilot's license without sinking myself in tons of debt.
Yeah.
That was a really big draw. The other one was I really just wanted to travel the world and see stuff, and see what's all out there, get out of Wisconsin where I'm from.
Okay.
From a little town in Wisconsin called Fond du Lac. It's like 40,000 people when I was living there. So yeah, I just wanted to see the world too,
Okay. You like Culver's?
Oh, Culver's is great. Yeah. Yeah.
They're starting to sprout out down here in Florida, man. So that you can't go wrong with a butter burger, some fresh custard, and some cheese curds, dude. They do it right, man.
Definitely. I don't. It sounds like they're growing. I didn't even know they were in Florida. I thought it was like 5 states, but
dude, they're everywhere down here, man. They're popping off. So everyone's coming to Florida. But what did you join the military right after high school?
No, I didn't. So right after high school, I went into college, and my first year was kind of a flop. Not terribly, but I wasn't an honor student or nothing.
Yeah.
And then I decided that I wanted to get in the military and go into an ROTC program. So I started trying the next 2 years of my college career. And I finally got to a place where I was accepted into University of Wisconsin-Madison, and they had a naval ROTC program there. So I was excited about that. I jumped in there, and it took me 4 years to get a degree there. So I was in college for 7 years.
So I've always living a good life.
Yeah, and I've always been, 3 years older than all my peers. So I'm 37 right now, but yeah, that's kind of how I got into the Navy.
How was the ROTC experience for you? What do you have to say about that?
It was awesome. Honestly, ROTC is really motivating. I think a lot of the people it's not like the normal military. I don't know what the Naval Academy is like, but I think it's probably similar. A lot of people there, everybody there is motivated and they're excited about getting in the military, even though they're not in it yet. I guess a lot of people's motivation drops off. I've tried to keep mine nice and high.
Yeah.
Just so I have a good attitude about everything. But yeah, ROTC is great. It was a great program. We got to learn leadership, work out, and wear uniform around college. So, I mean, that's really all it was.
Yeah, not bad. Did you have to be like in the top 10% to sort of get to be a pilot, or how does that go? Because I've heard different things from different branches and stuff like that, but I know being a pilot in any branch of the military is pretty much sought after and held in high regard. So what was your experience on getting your dream job?
Yeah, I'm sure everyone's experience is different, and each service is different too. For me, there was, around, I think, 10 or 11 folks in my graduating class in Naval ROTC. And there was 3 of us that wanted to go pilot, maybe 4 of us, and 1 or 2 of us got knocked out from medical reasons. So the other 2 of us got picked up for pilot. There was an issue where they were looking at another guy in my class who wanted to be on a submarine, and they were trying to make their submarine quota. And since I was doing a mechanical engineering for a degree, they were like, hey, if this guy doesn't make it, like, you're going to be the submarine dude. And I was like, okay. I mean, that's not what I wanted to join the Navy for, but I was there to serve. So obviously I would have done whatever they told me to, but they end up working out. That guy, I think he got a waiver to get on a submarine for whatever he had.
Okay.
And I went to flight school, so that's how I got in.
How'd you feel when you got the word that you got your to become a pilot to go to flight school? How'd you feel?
Amazing. I mean, I still had a lot of work to do. Flight school is not easy, But yeah, I
Right.
felt great. I got in the program. I got my dream job and I was going to serve in the military. So, it was a good feeling for sure.
Not bad.
Yeah.
How was flight school for you? Like, what was the toughest challenge that you had to face, and how long is the school actually?
So flight school took a little bit longer for me. We had a period there where we weren't getting a lot of flights as students. It kind of fluctuates, the flight school does, just based on like weather, um, graduating classes, the demands of the military, like how many pilots they need, and there's a lot of factors that go into it. But I think it's supposed to be typically 2 years. Mine was 3.
Okay.
But probably the most challenging part, there's different phases. I think anyone that's been through it, I think primary was the most challenging for me. That's where you learn to fly I think they just have turboprop jets or jets now. I'm not sure, but you just basically fly a military fixed wing aircraft, and you solo fly it. And there's a couple milestones there, but I definitely had the most trouble in that phase of flight school. Everywhere else I did fine.
Okay. Once you got done with flight school, where'd you end up going to for your duty station?
Once I got out of advanced training, which is where I learned how to fly helicopters, they put me over at HSM 41 in Coronado, California. It's right by San Diego, for those
Okay.
unfamiliar. But yep, that was my first training squadron in the actual model aircraft, which is a 60 Romeo.
Okay.
And my first squadron was HSM 78, which here it is. Wearing the Blue Hawks shirt right here.
I've got you. Repping.
HSM 78 Blue Hawks was my first squadron, and it was a great time. Deployments are tough and everything, but there was a great group of guys there, and I learned a lot. So,
how did it feel to leave Wisconsin and be in that nice weather of San Diego once you got over there? How are you feeling?
Well, yeah, San Diego was great. When I got to Florida out of Wisconsin, yeah, the weather it's really hot in Florida.
Yeah.
It was definitely great. Honestly, one of the funniest things about moving out of Wisconsin was, I was driving south with everything I owned in my little car that I had at the time. And, just a couple packs of clothes and whatever. And I get far enough south where I can like jump out of the car with a t-shirt on, because it was like, pretty cold. It was like, I think it was November. And I go in this gas station and this lady's like, "Where are you from?" after she's talking to me. And I'm just like, "What do you mean, where am I from? How do you know I'm from somewhere not here?" Like, it was funny, but I asked her, I was like, "Why, how did you know I wasn't from here? Like, how do you know I'm not just somebody just from down the street coming to the gas station?" And she's like, "Oh, I could tell by your accent."
Yeah, they get you, man. They'll know.
Yeah, she knew right away. So I was like, man, I stick out like a sore thumb. I had a thick Wisconsin accent. I think I got rid of it at this point, but yeah, it was funny, man.
That's not bad. That's a funny story. So you got to California. How long did you stay there before you had to deploy?
So I spent a year at the training squadron there, and then I went over to 78. When I checked into 78, they were actually going out for a rim pack. So that was my first underway period. Literally, I checked in on the aircraft carrier, the Reagan.
Oh, damn.
And they were doing rim pack, which is like tons of, you've probably heard of it, tons of ships out, from every country around the world, just sailing out at sea, taking photos and, doing stuff. So that was my first underway period.
How was it being out on the aircraft carrier? Do you have sea legs? Were you good with that? Did you get sea? I could never be in the Navy, dude. Respect for you and people in the Marines that are on the Muse, and even in the even in the Army, the people that are on the boats. I'm not growing sea legs. I just know I wouldn't be able to do it, bro. So what about you?
Yeah, no, honestly, the aircraft carrier, and I think I don't know if it was your last guest, but she was talking about, the aircraft carrier is it's pretty mellow. So it really doesn't. You don't really need sea legs on the aircraft carrier.
You don't even feel it. That's crazy. Yeah, Genesis. Yeah, Genesis has like a city on water. I believe it, but damn, I've got sick on a cruise ship, dude. Not even going far. So I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah, if there's rough seas, I think it gets it can get tough on the carrier. But the destroyers, I've been on, destroyers, cruisers, and aircraft carriers, and when you're on the destroyer in rough seas, it's even hard to sleep because you're getting thrown around so much. So that's tough. And I did get motion sickness quite a bit on destroyers when I first, stepped on them. But, I used to take the pills. I forget what they are, but they'll give you a
Dramamine or something
pill.
like
Yeah,
that.
that's it. That's the
Yeah.
one. Yeah. Yeah. So they'll give you that. But I got to a point where I didn't need it. You do get used to it.
Okay. So what happened after you did that assignment? Did you come back to California and stay again and just keep, nonstop shipping out cycle, or how'd your deployments and stuff like that go?
Yeah, it was mostly scattered underways. We had a kind of a newer squadron at the time. They had just stood it up, I think, 2 years before I got there. So they hadn't really deployed them.
Okay.
And then in 2015, we sailed around South America on a deployment. I think it was 89 days. That's actually my longest underway time.
Okay.
So I don't even have the sea service ribbon, but I've got a lot of time at sea,
Okay.
a lot of time flying at sea. But yeah, it was different exercises scattered around. Exercise Northern Edge. We went up there for a month and did some submarine searching and off the coast of Alaska. So that was pretty cool. We're getting training all over the place. And that's really, there's no like real world, like war hardened Romeo pilots really. Cause it's an anti-submarine warfare aircraft. If we have to drop torpedoes on somebody's submarines, like that's a pretty crazy day, so.
For real. Yeah. You never got to live out the full effect, but at least you got to do the training for it. I mean, seems pretty badass to go out and fly and scout out submarines and just go to different ports. I was going to ask you, what's like some of your favorite, missions or mock missions that you got to fly, like, and things that you got to see. Also, with like, what port did you like the most to get on Liberty on? Anything that comes to mind?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the port, that's easy. We pulled into Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. That was a great port call. I don't think there's a lot of people that have deployed to South America, so it's kind of a rare opportunity. But that was a great port visit. I mean, we all the JOs rented out a penthouse, and we all stayed up on the top of this building.
That's
and
sick.
it was a great time. Like we had fun. I think it was around Christmas time that we did a white elephant gift exchange, and there was some pretty funny stuff going around there. But yeah, it was just that was a great place.
Sounds good.
Yeah, training missions. I think SCAR was always my favorite mission, strike coordination and reconnaissance.
Okay.
I've only done it in training, not in like combat or anything, but controlling, taking control of jets and telling them what targets to strike and stuff like that. You have to be really fast. You got to know it very well to actually communicate it over the radio and keep everyone organized.
Okay.
And it can get pretty complicated, but what I like about it is just it's so busy and you can get task saturated so quickly that it really kind of puts your mental state to the test, and I think that's cool. Now in the helicopter, we fly there's two pilots in front. So one person's dedicated to the mission. And I think there's other reasons for this, but one of the reasons is that we have two pilots is so that somebody can focus on a mission like SCAR, which is, pretty demanding. So the other can fly, and we're nice and low to the water all the time, typically like around 500 feet. So just flying that low is pretty dangerous. So it's good to have somebody dedicated to flight, and
Okay.
somebody dedicated to the mission. So, but I always liked SCAR, man. I just thought it was so much fun.
What's your favorite aircraft that you've ever flown through flight school, through your missions? Is it the 60s or is it something else?
Yeah, it's the 60 Romeo for sure. Everything else was just kind of like, learn how to fly stick skills. The Romeo was actually like, learn how to do mission sets. And
Okay.
I think that's a bit more fun. One of the reasons I'm not an airline pilot right now is, flying is great and I love doing it. But the missions, the challenge of actually like, figuring complex problems out and, trying to find submarines, trying to control jets or whatever else, search and rescue, like all that stuff is so much fun. Just taking off and landing isn't like a huge motivator for me.
Yeah, you don't want to get down with JetBlue, just flying from Dallas to JFK or something like that.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
I think it's cool. I just, I'm exploring other stuff right now.
I feel you. So you're on the Yeah, the Romeo. Yeah, that's a pretty sick. I'm looking at a picture of it right now because I wanted to see exactly what it was, but that's pretty cool. Um, did you think you're gonna be in the Navy for a career, or what was your outtake? What was your output on that?
I did want to be in the Navy for a career, pretty much up until I got married, I think. That's
Okay.
probably where a lot of people draw the line. Um, and honestly, I probably would have kept doing it. But like I said, I think my whole career path kind of changed after the helicopter crash. So, I don't know if you were going to ask me about it or not. We'd get into it
Oh,
now. But
yeah, absolutely. Go ahead, man.
yeah, 2017, I was taken off the USS Dewey with another pilot, and the cables failed to the tail rotor. So 5 seconds after we took off from the ship on a functional check flight, it started spinning out of control. Um, and we tried to save it. We tried to fly it away, but we had a full bag of gas. The helicopter was very heavy. And without getting into too much, about helicopter flight or anything, it was basically unrecoverable. So we had to kill the power on both engines and land it in the water with it spinning.
Oh, wow.
Um, yeah, it was pretty crazy. It flips upside down, fills with water. Everyone was able to egress. We only had 3 people on board, 2 pilots and an air crewman. So we're all trained in the egress. So nobody got hurt. Nobody went to the bottom of the ocean with the aircraft, thank God.
Seriously.
It was a crazy experience for sure. But after that, I went through a bunch of boards, like like you would figure if a pilot's in a mishap like that, they analyze everything and they try to determine if you're at fault or not. And pretty much every time the crash happens, they'll find a way to put something on the pilot. They did with
Damn.
mine as well. But luckily, it wasn't severe enough where they were like, "Hey, like you're never going to fly again." They actually put me back in the aircraft a month later. I was flying the same thing. I flew for another 3 months, finished out my time at the squadron, and then I was on to shore duty. So not operational. I went to shore duty in San Diego. They actually cut me flight orders, so I could have went and maybe picked up some flight hours. But I actually decided to take a break, and I'm still on the break today. I'm still taking a break from flying, not to this day. So yeah, that kind of changed my career path a little bit.
Absolutely. I'm glad you guys are all good. That's first and foremost, and you can live and tell the story in one piece. Dude, what was going through your mind when all that stuff happened? Because I'm sure your adrenaline was going crazy, and it probably happened so fast. But like, were you just thinking like, I got to get the hell out of here, or what was going through your mind?
Yeah, honestly, I've done presentations on this for pilots all throughout the Navy.
Okay.
And that's a good question. Like, what's it like? What were you thinking, essentially? And the way I describe it is like alarm bells were essentially going off in my brain everywhere. Like I had a fire just going on in my brain, like you can't imagine.
Yeah.
It's like a oh shit moment, right?
Absolutely.
But we had people in the aircraft who were like saying certain things that would like it like directed me to like scan certain gauges. I attribute a lot of our success, whatever you want to call this, because nobody got hurt, nobody died.
Yeah.
I attribute a lot of that to our crew, who was able to like kind of talk me on to what was happening. Originally, I was scanning mostly outside the aircraft, which doesn't really help in that emergency too much. You really have to look at the gauges to see what's going on. So my crew, after they had called a couple things, it caused me to think like looking at some of the gauges like altitude, probably the primary one is altitude, to see that my heading indicator was spinning, stuff like that, and kind of confirm where we were. So that was huge. And, they really helped focus me on what I needed to do. Simulators are really great training. That was another thing that came out of this. Like when I looked at the gauges in the cockpit, it looked exactly like when I had been given this emergency in a simulator. So like it's basically it's exact same scan there. So that was really nice. And just all the training that they put us through. We were able to execute emergency procedures like I think we missed like maybe one or two steps, or not really missed them, but chose incorrectly on very minor things that didn't really have a detrimental effect on anything. So we were able to execute emergency procedures from memory, just based on all the training that we get. So training's really good for us. And, what was I thinking? Like, I just had a huge fire, alarm bells going off everywhere. And I knew to do the things I had been trained to do. And that's pretty much it.
That's good. You had that muscle memory. They put you through enough, bells and whistles beforehand. That's good to hear.
Yeah.
How did you get involved in presenting this to all over the Navy? Was it something that you brought up to higher command, or was it something that they proposed to you?
Yeah. So my squadron initially was like, "Hey, can you do a presentation? Kind of give us like some tips on this, because obviously you just had a crazy experience." And of course I was like, yeah, absolutely. I'll, tell you everything I know, to help the next crew that, God forbid, gets an emergency like this. It's not the first time a helicopter has spun out of control. So once I did that, they all thanked me. And I think it was all the thanks I got that I was like, you know what, I'm going to go give what I know to other people, to try and help them if they ever experience something similar. So
yeah, for real, dude.
I took it upon myself. I just emailed squadrons and said, "Hey, if you want this training, I think I'm going to do it for a year, and then I'm not going to do it. So let me know." And I did it for a year, and now I don't do it anymore. So
that's good. Good respect to you for doing that, man. Just why not, dude? So you probably did it. It felt like, hey, I'm gonna do this so no one else, if they ever find themselves in this scenario, they know what someone in this scenario did. Good for you, man. You need that.
yeah,
So that's a good leader. What
yeah.
so you got on shore duty. You pretty much had is your time short-lived at this point? Did you know you were getting out yet, or did you just know that you were kind of like doing shore duty and not flying anymore? What'd that look like?
Yeah, I don't think I knew I was getting out yet. I knew I was taking a break from flying at my shore duty. I thought I would pick it up on my shore duty. I would like go try and get some flight hours, but I didn't. I didn't ever do that. I think I started looking into real estate when I was on shore duty down there in San Diego, and I liked what I was hearing. Like, there's a lot of things like, try and get some passive income, try and get some properties that the mortgages get paid off by tenants, get some mailbox money. And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna study this. I started watching the Bigger Pockets podcast, which is
Absolutely.
it's a great podcast to learn real estate stuff. So I started doing that and reading books, and yeah, I'm pretty happy I did, because I ended up creating a business off of that a couple of years later. But yeah, I didn't know I was getting out yet. I just knew I was going to do something in my free time, in case I did decide to get out. And
Okay.
yeah.
What's your first, like? Did you have people in the Navy with you that were doing real estate as well, or was it something you just stumbled across by yourself on YouTube?
I actually don't remember what initially got me into this. Oh, you know what it was is, I didn't have anyone in the Navy that was doing this. I'm trying to think if anyone in my office or any of my buddies were into it. Not really. It was my wife's boss at the time who gave us this book called Rich Dad Poor Dad.
Oh yeah,
And
absolutely need to read.
yeah, I mean, this guy was a millionaire, so I was like, dude, a millionaire just gave me a book. Like, I'm gonna read it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
So I grabbed it and I read it in a day because it was so interesting. And it's about real estate and about, passive income. And I mean, it's a great book. I would definitely recommend that to anybody. But yeah, Rich Dad Poor Dad really got me into it. And I started digging into that. I spent about 4 or 5 years like studying real estate before I actually did any real estate.
What did so I got a whole bunch of questions for sure, but the first one I
Oh
want to
yeah.
ask you is what was your first deal? What'd you end up getting?
Yeah. So actually my first deal, I've got the first deal I did, which is not exciting. And then I got the first deal I did, which is very exciting. Um, so there's two kind of first deals for me. The first deal I did was a wholesale deal, and wholesaling in real estate is where you go get a contract with somebody. You say, "Hey, I'm going to buy your house," and you get into contract with them, right? And while you're in escrow, you sell the contract rights to somebody else. You're like, "Hey, you want to buy this contract? You can jump in for me and close on this house as if you were me."
Right.
Because that's all it really is. And I did some marketing on Facebook groups. I was posting things like, "Hey, I'll buy your house if you want to sell it, any condition." Well, this dude
Okay.
called me and he had a house that was like dilapidated.
Oh shit.
And I was just like, "Oh shoot." But this is what made me do it. He's like, "Look, I owe $6,000 on the taxes. If you just pay that, like you can have it."
Damn. He came
And I was
up.
like, "Yeah." He threw that out there, and I was like, "Okay." I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was like, "Yeah, I'll do it." So I knew I was in contract, and I had like 30 days to close. And I called the business that lived next door to him. It was like a painting company, and I was like, "Hey, I saw you guys have a business next door. If you want some parking, like I got this house over here, you can buy it for 11 grand."
Oh damn.
And
Quick.
yeah, I think I gave him my minimum, and it was like, I think it was 11 grand. Um, Whatever it was, at the end of the day, they were like, "Yeah, we'll do it." And they, they didn't have to pay the money up front. They paid it at closing, my share. And it ended up being $3,000 for me, and the taxes got paid off the house, and the ownership transferred to the painting company.
Just off a
But
Facebook post, dude.
just off a Facebook post, which sounds like it's like easy money, right? And I think some people have a different experience, but for me, it was like a month's worth of work, and my paycheck as an officer was like a lot better than $3,000 a month, and
That's true.
I enjoyed being an officer like 20 times more than the work I did to do this deal.
Yeah.
So,
I could feel that.
so I was like, wholesaling is not for me, man, and I just dropped it after that.
No, good
So that was
experience. You
my
tried it though. You tried it. You got your feet wet. Said, "Nah, I'm good on this." You can do what you do next.
Yeah, so my next deal, it took a couple years. I think it was 2 years later, where I used my VA loan, which is another reason I'm glad I'm doing this podcast. Is like, man, like what is the power of a VA loan? Like, this is the power of my VA loan. Like this is how my VA loan went.
Okay.
I spent $2,500 to buy a $250,000 house in
Sheesh.
Portsmouth. Yeah,
Okay.
that's all I had to put down, because the seller paid all the closing costs and everything, and I had like my end of the closing costs. That's it. It was $2,500.
No PMI, no more, no mortgage insurance. So yeah,
Nope,
no down payment needed. So absolutely, man,
nope.
keep going. Let them know. Let them know, dude.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. $2,500. I got a nice house. Now, this house, the all my training that I did in real estate allowed me to find this one house, because
Mhm.
what I tell people is at any given time on the market, there's 1,000 houses for sale, and one of them is the best one. And I just want to find the best one.
It's true.
And I think I did at the time, like when there were 1,000 houses for sale, and I think I found this one as the best one. So it was a it was a main house. If I can get this in my camera right here, it was a main house on the front of the property, 4 bedroom, 2 bath, and then there was a smaller like garage with an
Mhm.
apartment above it in the backyard, detached from the main house. It was, for all intents and purposes, it was two houses. The back house was 2 bedrooms and 1 bathroom. And my thinking was like, I'm going to move into that small house, um, and I'm going to put the big house on Airbnb.
Mm.
So
What
that's
what
what,
made you have that foresight? Just all the research you'd done for the 5 years ahead before. Excuse me.
yeah. So all the research I did for the 5 years was like, how do I find a good deal? How do I find a bad neighborhood and avoid it? How do I look up rents and see, like, how do I calculate what my mortgage payment's going to be? Um, so how do I find something where the rent is more than the mortgage? Because that's
Right.
important.
Absolutely.
And then it was at the last minute when I found this house. I was like, dude, let me check out Airbnb. And I looked it up on this website called AirDNA. And it was going to pull in, like, I think the front house was projected at 55,000 a year. And the back house was projected at like 40 or 36, something like
Wow.
that was like the estimate. And I beat those numbers just out of luck, not because I'm skilled or anything. But yeah, so what I did is I moved in the big house, and I furnished it, and I think I painted the living room, and I installed smart locks. I did whatever I thought would make it a nice, comfortable like place to stay for people. And then I
Yeah.
moved into the back house, and I listed that front house on Airbnb, and I got a booking like I think the same night. Um,
Wow.
and The bookings just started coming in. The first booking I got was scary, man, because the guests threw a party, and
Damn.
I was living in the back house, and I was just thinking, like, all the neighbors that I built all this rapport with, who like think I'm a great dude, like they're just probably pissed at me right now.
Damn.
And
Hangover Part 4, dude.
yeah, and honestly, man, like what was going through my head at the time was like, I hate this. Like I'm getting out of it. I texted my wife. I'm like, this sucks. Like it's over. I'm not doing this. And then I started reading about like what things you can do to like vet your guests so you don't get parties. And we don't have parties anymore, like based on the stuff I learned. So if that's a hurdle anyone experiences, man, like there's a way to vet your guests and get good ones that stay at your property, and you don't have to like have these stressful nights where you feel like your Airbnb is going to get shut down.
Or burned to the ground.
Or burned to the ground. Yes. Well, if it burns to the ground, that's probably fine because Airbnb will cover it. There'll be an air cover.
What'd you learn? What's some tricks and tips then that you would say if people are in the Airbnb or the Verbo or vacation rental space? What would you have them do to make sure that wouldn't happen after what you've learned?
Oh, dude, we could do a podcast on Airbnb like all by itself.
We should.
Yeah, we definitely could. But as far as like how to vet for guests who party, like how to make sure they don't reserve your place, the biggest thing you can do is probably set your minimum stay up for 2 or 3 nights.
Okay.
And this depends on what your house is, but like mine was a 4-bedroom, 2-bath. It was like big enough where people could throw a house party.
Right.
And house partiers, like I'm sure if you have a mansion, there's probably a different set of rules, but for a 4-bedroom, 2-bath, like house party people, they don't want to spend a lot of money. So like if they can't reserve it for one night in the winter in the slow season when your rate is at its lowest, like they can't get it for cheap, like they're not getting it.
Yeah, they're not coming. Yeah.
Yeah, so they just disappeared. I miss a couple of good folks who just want to stay a night, right? But I miss the party crowd too, and my calendar is still good. So
you still got that house to this day?
Oh yeah. There's a couple staying in it right now with an insurance company.
Oh wow.
They were paying. So this house, just the whole property in general, right? We almost. I don't want to miss this part, but I think the mortgage it's gone up a little bit because taxes have increased, but the mortgage was $1,250 when I bought it, $1,250 a month, dude. And right now it's gone up. I think it's $1,600 right now. But
okay.
The guests that are staying there right now, they're there on 2 months right now. An insurance company paid me $3,500 a month just for that front house.
Damn.
For those folks to stay there because their house got destroyed by water. I think they had a flood or something.
Okay.
And it's getting renovated, and the insurance company places them somewhere else while their house is getting renovated. So it's not the insurance company; it's like a third party that works for the insurance company.
Yeah.
But yeah, they hit me up and they were willing to do $3,500 a month. So we put them in. Like,
dude, can't complain on that. You're like doubling your cash, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. And that's just on the front house. I got a person staying in the back house for $1,800 a month. So that's for a month.
Damn.
So, and this is a slow season.
You said Portsmouth. Is that where's that, Virginia?
Yeah, Portsmouth is right next to Norfolk.
Okay, that's what. All right, dude. Hey, good for you, man. That's always in Florida. It's hard because there's a lot of HOAs, but I'm looking to try to get some short-term rentals sometime in the future. Once get the cash up, or I got one. I got a house I bought when I was contracting. I'm renting that out for $2,500. Mortgage is like $1,398, so that's nice. Cash flowing, not bad. And then I rolled right into my other house with a VA loan, not even thinking I was going to be able to get it because I left my contracting job. But guess what? People don't realize that if you're 100, whatever percent disabled you are, just say you're 100%, you can plus your disability up by 0.25, I believe it is, because it's tax free. So there's ways around it, man, and I'm just gonna keep rolling like you are. So I'm gonna follow in your footsteps and make it happen. Now that I got you on, I could hit you up for help, and hopefully anyone that's listening to this podcast can take what you're saying to heart because, like you said, yeah, it might have took you 4 or 5 years, but dude, you got the deal of that. You got the 1 out of 1,000 you were looking for. You don't. Right. Not every deal is for you, and that's okay. But when you find it. You know what I mean? Like you're set, dude. Like I'm sure you're never going to give that property up. right? Like,
I will when the return on equity makes sense. So
okay.
like, or I'll refinance it and just hang on to it. We'll see. Yeah, but honestly, I can't see myself getting rid of it anytime soon.
I don't blame you.
Dude, and that's cool that you're doing it too. So, what I would say, I mean, I'm sure everybody's got their advice. And what I
Yeah,
would kind of the advice I would like to give like your listeners, and I guess you as well. You've probably heard this
absolutely.
before, but if you're looking to get into Airbnbs, like one thing I would always tell people is I like to have three strategies I can do with a house, three ways to rent it out.
Okay,
Because sometimes Airbnb is like pretty risky.
that's true.
Like you got to be able to look up laws, and they're not like super clear in a lot of cities and municipalities.
Right.
So what I do with mine, and there's a bunch of ways to skin this, but I look at short term for Airbnb, medium
Okay.
term, which is if the city tells me I can't Airbnb anymore.
Okay.
Like, what am I going to do, right?
What's a
Medium,
medium term rent? Like, what's a medium term? Is you talking a month still? Or are you talking a year or more?
yeah, medium term is I think there's a couple different definitions out there. It's a very new thing,
Okay.
but it's more than 30 days or more
Okay.
rental, but less than a year. I think is how I kind of define it.
Okay. I got you.
So a long term would be like what everyone knows. You're a landlord and you have a tenant. And you
Right.
don't provide furniture and you don't provide like silverware to them or nothing. No
Absolutely.
shampoo. But the medium terms a great backup to short term because like that insurance company that we got right now. They got the tenant in there, and there's nothing the city can do about you renting your house out for 30 days or more. There's
Yeah,
no
that's
medium
great.
term. There's no medium term laws right now.
Right.
So like
Only in HOAs, though, like say I live in an HOA, they're gonna say, well, you can't. You have to you have to give a lease of at least a year. You know what I mean? So like, but that's different.
oh
If
really?
you don't
Okay.
live in it, yeah, if you don't live in an
Yeah.
HOA, then they're not gonna dictate how your lease is gonna be presented, I suppose.
Yeah, HOAs are tough. That's something I
Yeah.
don't know anything about. I've never looked into HOAs.
Stay away, dude. You're doing better without it, man. Trust me,
Yeah.
dude. Seriously.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. And then I look at the long-term numbers, and what I do is I'll buy a property if all three make sense.
Got you
So
on
if I
that.
got to roll to a backup, like if medium term doesn't work because there's not enough people that want to get in the door.
Yeah.
I got to pay my mortgage somehow. So if I got to go long-term rental as a tertiary, I do that. So I
That
mean
makes sense.
that's just good advice. Like having
Absolutely.
backup plans to what you're doing.
So once you got, yeah, it's great advice, dude. Appreciate you sharing. Once you got through the crazy hangover night, everything was fine. You kept rolling. Did you start doing other deals? You got other stuff rolling right now, or what you got going?
Yeah. So I moved out of the back house, and that was about I think it was 10 months after I bought the house. I'd moved out completely.
Okay.
And that first year, that property did 110,000.
Nice.
And I did like $20,000 in mortgage payments and
Damn.
$30,000 to housekeepers and like I forget what it was utilities, but we made a good amount of cash flow. It was around 60,000 that year.
Great. That's great.
So like the moral of the story really is like if you know what you're looking for, like that VA loan is super powerful. Like you can do a lot of good with it.
Yeah.
And it's not done that good since, but it's done really, really good. Enough that we love having it. So I moved into another house and I called up my lender because I was like, hey, I bought this house for 250,000. My VA loan says I can do like 525 or 530 at the time. And I was like, I didn't think this was possible. And I couldn't find anything online about it, but I was like, can I use it again? And they were like, absolutely. So I was like, great, I'm going to go buy another house. And I moved into a house in Willoughby Spit out in Norfolk, and I still have that house. It's a great house. I love it. It was pretty beat up. I tore 70% of it apart and fixed it up after work. The whole time I'm doing this, my wife was actually back in San Diego with our newborn son, like taking care of him. And so I had free time. She was living with her mom was helping her out with the kids and everything. Well, the one kid. So yeah,
Were
I
you
moved
still
in
in?
this.
Were you still serving when you got
Yes.
the second house too? All right,
Yep.
cool.
Yeah,
And remodeling. How'd that go? Did did you have a team to help you with that, or you just hire contractors? Because like I have no clue about that, but I know that some people have a forte in construction. But what was your experience like?
Yeah, I mean, I hired a HVAC guy to put in a new HVAC unit.
Okay.
But most of it I did myself. I'm trying to think if I had another contractor come through. I don't think I did. I did all the drywall. I redid the electrical. I did the floors. Put a LVP floor down. One of those like click-in systems.
Yeah.
Anybody can do that stuff, man. It's a good way to build equity into a house. And again, you got to know what you're doing. Like you got to know that you're buying it at a good price where
Right.
you got to be able to do your own comps where you can look up or, have a realtor who can actually help you with this. And you got to be careful with realtors, man, because if you ask a realtor if they can do something for you, their answer is yes, I can.
Yeah, you know that shit, dude. I remember, dude, it's funny story you say that because when I first got out of the army, I was out here looking at houses and the thinking that you're good to go. And then why you got me out here looking at houses because you said you're gonna make it happen. Then you said, oh, I'm sorry. Actually, it just blew up. So I was like, it really just goes to show that you have to do your own due diligence.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You just have to do your own because no one else is going to do it better than you, dude. Seriously.
No.
Unless you just fucking find that one of a kind real estate agent that's your best friend that, like, oh shit, I know Nate. Okay, Nate's not going to bullshit me because you're doing it yourself. But the majority of people, they don't know what a veteran's supposed to get. They don't know that you don't have to bring closing costs. They don't know that there's no zero down. They don't even know anything about a VA loan, dude. That's why I went to do the real estate school myself because I said, shit, if I'm going to keep doing deals, I'll just do it myself. And I don't, you know what I mean? So I'm sure you've had the same experience.
Yeah, man. And that's why I got my real estate license. It wasn't to show new homeowners houses, man. It was to basically save on my closing costs. Cause I'd been with realtors who I asked them questions and they don't really know what they're doing, man. So yeah, it comes down to you really. You got to educate yourself. Your VA loan is as powerful as you are smart,
That's true.
And if you can look at a house and go, if I fix this thing up, down to the details, if I put a new floor on this thing and new paint, it's going to look like this other one. If I can do that, it's going to be worth, that sold comparable within 6 months or 3 months or whatever.
That makes sense. Did you use the bigger pocket calculators and stuff like that? Did you get into all that stuff or
no, honestly, I didn't. I wasn't really looking for a big equity build on this one.
Okay.
I got it because I saw what the mortgage was going to be. Because it was beat up, it was getting sold a little bit less than the rest of the houses on the market.
Okay.
So I was like, if I just jump in this thing and fix it, it's going to cash flow no matter if I have short, medium, or long-term rental. So when I ran the numbers on the short, medium, long-term, I was like, good enough. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to move in. I'm going to fix it up, because I need a place to live anyway. So
heck yeah.
Might as well fix the one I'm at, and I had that whole house torn apart, and it was the middle of the night one night, and I was just looking around at all the studs and the lack of insulation. And I was just like, man, what did I get myself into? I was scared, man, because I had a house torn up. I was living in the bedroom, and I was like, dude, if I break my leg and I can't fix this thing,
because you saved a shit ton of money by doing it yourself instead of hiring a GC, right? Because that's the whole thing. You outsource all that stuff, and you're not going to have the same margins as you would as doing it yourself. So, yes. I guess I got to get on YouTube and start searching how to put floors down, dude, and make some shit happen out here.
That's really all it takes. Everything's
for real,
on
dude.
Everything's on YouTube.
It is. You're right, dude. Absolutely right. So you're still in the Navy. So you said you're renting that house out now too? That
one's on Airbnb too.
Okay.
My wife moved here. We were living in that house, and we decided to upgrade. I would have lived in that house longer, honestly, because I wasn't ready to rent it out when we rented it out. I had to scramble to get that thing done.
Yeah.
But we were ready to move to a nicer house. We ended up buying the house that I'm in right now. We've been here for 2 years. But we ended up moving to another house. I think we ran numbers on this one, but we were less concerned because we were planning on sticking around here for a long time. This is kind of like a dream house for us.
That's cool. Get like relaxed a little bit, not have to move and get a U-Haul or pack your shit every year to get. It's cool because you're making moves and you're doing stuff, but man, that shit gets old quick.
Yeah, and I wasn't trying to put my family through a ton of that. I will say though, the rent here covers the mortgage, like at least that.
Nice.
Like I would stress that on anybody watching. Like, dude, if you're gonna go buy a house, like if you ever can't sell it one day because the market turned, or especially if you're transitioning out of the military, like you don't know what's gonna happen, man. So if you can buy something that if S hits the fan, that you can just put a renter in here and move out and go downgrade or whatever you got to do, like definitely it's nice to have the option to rent it.
Yeah, you don't want to be over leveraged. A lot of people get into that and just try to do as many deals as they can, and then like when it does,
Yeah,
it's always going to have a correction, dude. You're never going to get the same rent. But you're right though, dude. You don't do that to yourself. That's why I'm
yeah,
slowing down too right now until I find something like you did, a better deal or something with land, something that you could do an ADU on, or a mother-in-law suite, like a 2-for-1 bargain, dude. Because that's what you essentially got. You got 2-for-1, your first deal. So the
that's my
5 years is
favorite
worth the
deal.
wait. Yeah.
Yeah, it was my favorite deal. I got a little complacent with the next two because that one was so good. It was like,
Right.
but yeah, I mean, and we could be hitting a correction in the next couple months, man. Like we don't
Yeah.
know. So, and I will say this too, like the reason I tell people this too is like I look at my market a lot out here in like Virginia Beach, Norfolk area, and at any given time when I'm looking at houses, man, there's only a couple where like the rent covers the mortgage.
Damn.
And that even like when the interest rates were like lower, like rents have gone up. So and if you get a double house, like you're in a good spot. Like the rents should cover the mortgage there. Like with I call it a double house, a house in
Yeah.
front, ADU in back.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's only a couple, like there's a couple, and it's a nice thing to have. But with the uncertainty of transitioning out, man, like to just buy a house that you like, that's like $500,000 under the mortgage for rent is like, it's a risk, man.
Yeah.
You just got to be careful.
So you building your real estate portfolio, you're doing this, you're remodeling, you're doing all this good stuff on the side, still in the Navy. When did you figure out that you were gonna like have to get out? How did that even come about?
Yeah, funny story. And like I told you, I had a 2-week heads up.
Yeah, that's just crazy.
I actually wasn't going to. I wasn't going to get out of the military, really. What I was going to do was transition to the Air National Guard, to one of their flight programs, and I was going to get into flying drones with the Guard.
Okay.
I liked the idea of it because I was like, I don't have to be in a real aircraft. I'm
Yeah.
not sure how I feel about real aircraft yet. Obviously, I'm not like terrified. I fly commercial, like it's not a huge deal. But
Yeah.
I was like, man, I want to go. I want to go fly drones, man. I can scan a bunch of instruments. I can, do all the pilot stuff without even actually stepping in an aircraft. So it's very appealing to me with my specific situation. So I was going to do that. And then 2 weeks before I was scheduled to get out, I had sent them an email like 30 days before. And I was like, hey, I just want to make sure everything's going smooth with my transition so that I know I'm getting right into the Air National Guard, like the next day or very shortly after I get out of the Navy. Right.
Yeah.
And they were like, so yeah, it's not going to be that soon. Like the Air National Guard is reserves, right? They have some
Yeah.
full-time folks, but like they basically gave me a heads up. They're like, look, man, I don't think it's going to happen that soon. Like you're going to have a couple months break. And I was like, okay, I'm going to go in the Navy Reserve. I'm going to look for a job. And I figured like 3 months later, I would be in the Air National Guard. Well, when I was going through medical, they found something in my medical record and that I needed a waiver for to fly. So, dude, this is how your plans can go, when you're
Yeah.
transitioning out. Like
Absolutely.
all of a sudden I had a medical waiver, and it took 3 months to push it through Navy medicine. And it took 6 months to push it through the Air National Guard before it finally got approved. And so my 6-month transition where I thought it was going to be 6 months because I didn't have any medical waivers. And that's what everyone's best guess was like, you don't have any waivers, man. So it's going to be pretty easy. Well, here's this little medical waiver that I need. And it got drawn up. 18 months later, I got approved.
So you had to do an extra 18 months? Just wait. You had to wait 18 more months to get it done?
It was 18 months from when I started the program in July of 2022. 18 months later, I got approved. I was already like signed up to be a Navy recruiter at the time. And
Wow.
I had to tell him like, hey, like let's circle back and figure this out because I got a commitment that I'm going to do. But yeah, I got out of the military. I was into the Navy Reserve with a 2 week heads up. They were able to get me in the reserves without a break in service, which was important for me because I was transferring my GI benefits to my kids.
Okay.
So I know everybody knows this, but yeah, you can't have a break in service if you're transferring your GI benefits, or you got to restart the 3 year timer. Maybe something's changed since I've been on active duty, but yeah, you just got to be careful with that. So,
I
but they
didn't
were
know
able.
that, dude. I don't think a lot of
Oh, you
people
didn't?
probably do. I don't think a lot of
Yeah,
people do know that, honestly, man. Because sometimes people check out and they don't even realize what they got going on. To be honest with you, so appreciate you sharing that too.
yeah. I
But
already got.
go ahead.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. I already got my GI benefits. So yeah, I transferred my kids. They were able to do it without a break. And like I said, I went and looked for a civilian career. So I was like, dude, I like fixing houses. I started a job as a salesman for a renovation company out here. I ended up quitting like after a week because I'm like, dude, the prices are like insane.
Damn.
Like I was asking somebody to put a roof on their house for like 30,000, and
Jeez.
I had just put a roof on my house for
Yeah, unless you
7,000.
got Spanish tile down here in Florida, it might be 30 or 20,000. But yeah, not for no regular shingles, dude.
This
Right?
was
Like
regular shingles, man. And I know
Jesus.
it was a really nice roof. It was a GAF roof, but I'm like, dude, I can't, like I felt like I needed to take a shower after I talked to people, you know. So I was like,
Damn.
so I told my wife, I was like, I don't know if this is gonna work, and she ended up doing some work as a nurse practitioner, but our business definitely helped us through. You know, the winter and just kind of waiting to get picked up for this recruiter job that I'm doing right now. So it definitely saved us, man.
What what was going through your mind before all those 18 months passed? Like when you just heard about this waiver, about hey, you gotta wait, you gotta do this. Like what was going through your mind?
My start date was just getting pushed farther and farther back, and I was like, we got to do something because my business wasn't like in a place where it would like pay all of our bills. I mean,
Right.
it was pretty close, but this is a nice house we're in, so you know, we probably could have made it work had we moved. Um, but we had savings, you know, like I said, and I had my reserve pay, and my wife, you know, she did some work as a nurse practitioner, so we were able to get through. And but yeah, the business really helped with that. So
What do
just
you
happy we
think?
did that.
Yeah, I best believe you were. What the transition look like for you to get like did you go through like VA medical and stuff like that because you're going to the Navy Reserve still to be a recruiter, or does that sort of go on the back burner until you're done fully with service?
Yeah, that's on the back burner. I mean, I
Okay.
don't think I have a lot of. I'm not going to have a lot of disability. I don't think, but
Okay.
they had, you know, pilots are like, I mean, especially if you want to fly, like, don't tell people about your problems. But like, that's how it is. But like, I wasn't going to go trying to file a VA claim to see, you know, to have someone discover something wrong with me medically. Like,
Yeah, I've
so
heard
I
that
didn't.
before though, man. It's like everyone has the pride, even a cook like me, anyone in the military, because like the stigma is you're weak if you go to sick call, right? But in the flying world, like you just said, if you tell that you have something wrong, you're not gonna get behind that, that joystick and get up there and fly. It's too much of a liability, which makes
Yeah.
sense, but it's a double-edged sword, dude, because what if you really got something bothering you, but you really want to
Right.
fly? It's like you don't know where to just swallow your pride or just say, damn, it's been good, but all right, I got to take care of this now. But yeah, it's crazy. I've heard that several times, man. Talked to a couple other pilots too. So
Yeah. You're just going to need another medical waiver. So,
damn, another 18 months.
yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh, dude. So overall, do you think that you were planned to like you had your wife's job, you had the business, you had a little 2 weeks of time to did you have to did you go far when you got out for those 2 weeks, or did you stay local?
No, I stayed local.
Okay, that helps then. You don't have to like go across country and put everything in your car and move across the states. But
Yeah.
what do you think your transition was like overall? Do you think you were ready? Do you think you were prepared? Or looking back on it, what would you have done differently?
No, 100% I was not prepared. And like I said, it's because I was banking on a transition to another service. So when I went to the TAPS class, I was just like, this is great, but like, let's move through
Yeah.
this quickly because it doesn't apply to me. And it ended up applying to me, So I overlooked a lot of stuff because I didn't think I would actually be separating. And then it just happened, and I had to figure it all out like last minute, which was super stressful.
So if you had to talk to a younger you before you went through the process, or someone else that's out there that's in the military right now or yet to serve, what would you tell them before they get out? Because realistically, everyone's going to be done one day. Whether you're a 4-star general or private, doesn't really matter. You're going to get out, and there's going to be life after the service, and there's going to be struggles. There's going to be ups and downs like any other part in life. But what would you give them back if you had to say something to them?
Yeah, have a backup plan. Like
For real.
something could go wrong with what you're trying to do. If you're retiring with like full retirement, like benefits, like maybe that is your backup plan. But like if you're not in a place to retire, you're not at the 20-year mark or whatever, like you definitely need a backup plan. Whether that's like, I even tried to get back into active duty and I wasn't able to. So that like you probably want to look into something like that. Like if how easy is it for you to get back on active duty? Maybe you want to pursue reserves. Maybe you've got, maybe you have a couple different jobs that you could do like that. Maybe another job is your backup, but just have a backup plan. I like the idea of getting some real estate, like while you got your VA benefits.
And the income when you have the VA benefits and this guaranteed paycheck every month while you're in, right?
Yeah,
Do it early, man. Start early.
you definitely start early. And I mean, like the equity build on these houses is great because one thing we haven't mentioned is like, sure, they pulled in money for me. Airbnbs are a little bit more work than like normal tenants. So I do have to
Absolutely.
work for that a little bit for that money. I have housekeepers that clean it. But we haven't even talked about like the equity build. Like all the guests that come through my properties are paying the mortgages, and the mortgage is going down. The house values have been going up, so we're building equity there. So I think getting started early on that is definitely a benefit. Equity build is huge.
Yeah, they're paying. Yeah, and they're leaving positive reviews on you, and then getting word of mouth, and people just coming back. It's like a revolving door. Plus, damn, I was going to say something, but I forgot it. I might have slipped my mind. But it was, like with any real estate, dude. If like you said, if you just have someone paying that note for you, and even if you're only making $100 or $200 a month, that's better than being underwater, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
this is what I was gonna say. Like, if you're in a military town, people's guaranteed their money's guaranteed almost, unless there's like a government furlough, which you never know what's going to happen with that. But
yeah,
and then the other thing is maybe be around hospitals, travel nurses. They always need a place to go, dude. Like I'm living in a part of Florida, and they're built 29,000 new houses. We don't have much infrastructure. We got a couple grocery stores, but guess what? The schools are coming, the hospitals are coming. So if it's not a HOA and you can rent these short-term leases to nurses, they're making the money.
oh yeah,
They're making the money. So,
for sure.
they need a place to live, and they're not looking to stay. They might only need 3 to 4 months. So same thing that you're in. Hey, you got someone with a damaged property. Let's go ahead and put them up. Oh, hey, you might have a travel nurse that wants to be in San Diego from Wisconsin, sick of the cold. And now you got someone locked in for 4 months, but now they want to stay another 4. You're not
Yeah,
going to tell them no.
nope,
You're not going to tell them no. Hey,
no,
can I extend another 2 months? Sure thing. Like,
yeah,
it's
yeah,
probably the best you could hear, dude. Can I
yeah,
extend? Yeah.
yes. I have heard that before, and I was happy to hear it.
For real, dude.
Yes.
So, nah, man, good for you and good for your family. What's next for you? What's your next endeavor? What you got working?
So I'm pretty new to my job right now. I'm loving it though. I'm gonna hang out. I'm gonna hang out here for my 2-year orders. I think if all goes well, I'll have an option to extend them if I want to.
Okay.
So I've got that as an option. I can try and redo a transfer. I was already approved over to the Air National Guard, so I could try a transfer back over there again. Um, there's some other options I have like within the service, but with pilots, like it's a 10-year minimum contract. I was at 11 years when I got out of the military, the active duty side of the military, and so for a lot of us, it makes the most sense for us to just somehow finish 20 reserves or active duty. So I'll probably I'm thinking I'm going to do that, especially because I'm enjoying it. But we'll see. And then obviously, like, I'm going to continue the real estate stuff. I look at the market, here and there are still deals on the market, even with the interest rates and whatever they're at. I saw two the other day, and I thought about buying them, but there's hurdles I have right now that I'm kind of slowing down on the buying. But I will continue the buying. I'll continue the military, and I'll probably build some skills so that if I do want to do some kind of job after, my 20 years, I'll at least have a skill set, because that's another thing with us pilots. Like, if you don't want to fly, like, flying doesn't translate to anything else. So,
No, I
I
guess not, dude.
You got to
Fly or nothing.
build a skill or get a degree or something. Like, use your degree or get a degree. So,
what's one thing that you missed when you got out of active duty?
Well, yeah, certainly. Man, there was something I was trying to figure out. I had something for this, actually. I figured you were going to ask this question. A lot of people have said the camaraderie, and
yeah, that's true.
I think that's huge. Like, I heard, I think it was, it's Jenna. She was talking about how, there's a bunch of, there's shenanigans, there's BSing, and all that stuff that, goes along with, she was talking about on deployments. I think I missed that a lot, because a lot of coworkers are kind of straight-faced, straight-laced, and out in the civilian world, and they, they're just waiting for a chance to throw you under the bus so they can get the promotion, or they can get the sales lead or whatever.
I love that.
It's dude, there's nowhere else like it. Like, you can't. I don't think you can get coworkers like you have in the military. I haven't heard of a place that has it. I've heard of good companies that get pretty close, though. There's a lot of friends I have who got out, and one of them works at like JP Morgan or something, and he said he just loves the atmosphere over there. So
okay,
close, but you can't quite get there, I don't think.
No, you're right. What was the best meal that you had in the Navy? Was it at sea or was it on land?
The best meal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Military cooked, though. Military cooked
meal. That's a good question. Steak and lobster was my favorite.
There you go. Surf and turf.
Steak and lobster on the carrier is always a good day. What
day that you used to do that? Like Fridays, or did it not matter?
God, I wish it was every Friday, man. That would have been awesome.
Damn.
It was when you could get it. When the supply ships had it and they, gave it over to you. Or it wasn't very often. Maybe once a month or once every other month, I think.
Oh man, we're giving all this money away to everyone else. You gotta start getting some more steak and lobster in the damn rhythm, dude. Like, come on, man.
Right. Yeah.
Damn. Maybe you might get some more people to join. Like, damn, they got steak and lobster every night, every Friday night in the military.
Yes.
No, I didn't. Even though the quality of food that we get sometimes is subpar, but it is what it is, man. But hey, we definitely got to do another episode on Airbnb, man. I feel like you could talk about. I feel like honestly, when we're talking about real estate, we probably talk the most, which is great because you're doing it. I'm dabbling in it. It's not like we're just shooting from the hip saying do this and do that. And we're not telling you to be like us, but just use the benefits that you have out there and think about what you could do. Dude, I thought about it years after being in the military. Shit, what if we all deployed? We all came back and 10 of us got together and bought an apartment building with our VA loan or some crazy shit. Why don't we have veteran hedge funds or veteran? I think they do maybe a few, or there's probably people out there that are doing it, and venture capitalists that are veterans and stuff like that. I know there are, but man, there needs to be more of that stuff talked about, because it goes back to what you said. You don't have any other place in the world that offers the same thing the military does. It doesn't matter. Don't give a damn what color you are, what gender, what creed. It doesn't matter. You got each other's back. That needs a transition and start making money and having in business and create financial freedom for your kids, financial literacy, dude. Like everyone, I was guilty of coming home and just ready to party. You're 20 years old, 21 years old. You're ready to come drink and party like it was no tomorrow, because you've just been gone for 13 and a half months or a year. You're not really thinking, you don't have the foresight of, fuck, man, I should lock in an apartment building, or I should get a quadplex. But dude, I hope someone does come back and does listen, take this advice, do that exactly, come back and report in and just start a domino effect, man, because we have the tools, you have the money. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. That's just my take on that, dude. Maybe I'd like to start it one day. I'm just not there yet. But I'm not to say that we can't get there, dude. So
Well, and honestly, there are dudes that are on deployment even right now who are studying stuff like this.
absolutely.
Like there's guys who have gone out to sea and studied real estate, and I've heard stories. One of the guys I worked with when I was out here in Norfolk, like him and his buddy were out at sea every night reading about real estate, and they got really smart with it, and he owns a good amount of properties now. So it's definitely
Good for
something they're
them.
doing. Like if you're in right now and there's guys around you getting smart with this stuff, like go get smart with them would be my advice. Definitely.
Absolutely.
Like,
Yeah, dude. Seriously, man. But hey, you got anything else? I don't want to take too much of your time. I think we covered a lot of bases, and I really appreciate you coming on here, sharing your expertise. It was nice
yeah,
hearing your story. And I definitely need us. We definitely need to stay connected because I might need you down here in Florida to help me snap some floors or make some deals happen, dude. You know what I mean? So, and we got to get on that Airbnb podcast. But I just want to open it up to you real quick if we might have forgot anything that you wanted to throw out there. But I appreciate your time.
no, I appreciate you too. And we got each other on LinkedIn. So, I mean, if anyone wants to find me on LinkedIn, I'm at LinkedIn/IN/Go Navy Nate.
Okay.
That's my LinkedIn URL. You can see what we're doing there. I post a lot about like us enlisting sailors in the Navy Reserve and putting some officers in too. So plus some motivating stuff. I used to do a lot with real estate over there, so you can look back at some of my older posts, and maybe I'll do some more of those. But yeah, this has been great. I appreciate you doing this, and it's great to meet you.
Yeah, same to you, brother.
We'll
Hey,
stay
and
in touch.
let's do that. And everyone, if you guys made it this far, we appreciate y'all listening in. If you're a veteran or someone in the military space that wants to come on here, share your story, share your experiences, I'd be happy to have you on. And until next time, I hope you all have a blessed night. Thank you very much and have a good day.
See you, Michael.